Jesus, done. Make it easy. Mike. Mike. لازم الميكروفون تست. Microphone could be 15, 16, 16, 17, 18, 17.
We have a. Okay. Awakened colors. Scared. Shine up, public input. Sorry, I didn't sign up sheet.
5:30.
And they'll state their name and address and everything, right? Just a piece. of-
Okay, I'm gonna call the Anna E. Berry School Building Commission meeting to order. I'll wait for Mike. You can take roll call, please.
Roll call, Doug Gerard.
Present.
Dr. Ware. Is he on?
He's supposed to be on.
He's
He was
supposed
supposed
to
to
be
be
on.
on Zoom, so we'll circle back.
Frank Boron. Scott Chaplain. Here. Kate Lambert,
Present.
Roman,
Here.
Marie LaFlamme,
Here.
Joshua Clark. Carissa Lisi,
Here.
Michael Sarnelli,
Here.
Stephen Morno. Katie Collins Calba
Here.
and Stanley Kozakowski.
Here. Hello. Hello.
Nine
Mayor.
present.
Thank you. Just for the record, I'd like to add that the mayor is here with us this evening as well. Moving on to public input. Is there anybody in the office that would like to address the commission? If so, please come up to the podium, state your name and your address. I think that one's on.
Yeah, I think it should be on. Hello, my name is Mary Valcourt. I live on Zatella Drive.
Thank you, Mayor.
I'm sorry. could you say that?
Mary, thank you.
Alfred.
The
What was,
building
I'm sorry, what
commission's-
was your last name again?
Valcourt?
Valcourt.
Valcourt.
Yeah.
We did.
The Building Commission's discovery states that Zatella Park is classified as protected parkland and protected from development. How is the city able to develop this Zatella site with protected parkland and development status? What concerns me is that the Building Commission suggested that if any citizen opposed the project on the Zatella site, they could pursue litigation claiming this is parkland and protected from development. And another thing that worries me is that we haven't had any information meetings for quite a while, so I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Richard Valcourt, 47 Satella Drive. Sorry, just heard about this meeting this evening, so I don't have much prepared for it, but I'll keep it within the 3 minutes, I promise you. I believe there's been a lack of transparency on this committee or this board in that one, we were promised to have notes.
Yeah.
We were promised to have notes and presentations posted online. Last time I looked, the last we had was somewhere back in August, the timeframe. And this committee or this board hasn't met, and we have not seen anything, especially the proposals that were provided to the council and to the schools committee. We, the citizens, do not have the luxury of going back and reviewing them. That's the transparency. Also, we would have liked to have seen the transportation study that was performed to review it ourselves. We have some expertise within the community. We would have liked to have seen that. One of the things I did pick up from the transportation study is that it included only the roadway in between Champaign Ave and Edgewood Ave. That's where you proposed to put in a rotary. A lot of citizens here probably don't know that is one of the proposed actions by this board is to put a rotary in there. That transportation study failed to include traffic coming on of Satella Drive, Simonic Ave. I can't pronounce the other streets going further west. There were also cost estimates that were in the proposal at one of the last meetings that I saw, where it failed to include sidewalks from Edgewood, that's where the proposed rotary is going in, all the way up to Columba. Because my concern is, how would a student who lives west of Edgewood get to school? Would there be a crosswalk, a sidewalk? And if there are to be sidewalks, those costs should have been included. And I'll guarantee you that those are exorbitant costs that are not in the proposals. I think that's all I have for tonight. It gives you some consideration. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome.
Oh, believe me, I won't be long. Hi, I'm Nancy Sullivan, 565 Granby Road. I just heard about this morning. I know nothing. My property abuts that area right there, the house that is owned by the bank. And I didn't receive any notification. The last I knew was there was a meeting in August and I didn't hear anything about a rotary. So I'm just here to listen. Thank you.
Thank
And
you.
my son is.
Thank you. Mhm.
Good evening. Shane Brooks, 6 Grandview Street, City 2 Ward Counselor. As many of you know who've attended these meetings consistently, I've been an outspoken critic of this proposed location, if in fact it is the teleschool that's chosen this evening. Understanding that I do have an opportunity to hear all about this again on Monday evening via a special meeting called for by the mayor. I'm concerned with costs, but more importantly, I'm concerned with safety. As many of you know, when we repaved Granby Road several years ago, it's become somewhat of a speedway. And I think a speedway is an underestimation of what that actually is. The amount of speed and volume that thoroughway receives each and every day. I would ask any of you to stand on the intersection of Nelson and Granby Road and try to exit safely on any given day between 7:15 and 8:30. You are legitimately taking your life into your own hands. And now we're going to add additional traffic that can't be mitigated by a roundabout, additional sidewalks, potentially more crosswalks, considering there is only one in the heart of Granby Road that's located currently across from Champaign and the Union Mart. I would ask you to consider all these things that would only hurt the public safety in that area, which is already an overly congested area that is a main corridor to the 391 on ramps in both directions, south and north. Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the audience that would like to speak for public participation? Once we close public participation, it's closed. So it's now or never.
My name is James Arcott. I'm formerly of 31 Mason Drive. I hold the deed to that property from the family, okay? Massachusetts general laws as far as eminent domain states that before your committee can make any decision on that property, okay, you have to notify the families or their descendants, okay? This was never done. Your whole committee, and I've been trying to tell you people this from all your other meetings, you've put the cart in front of the horse, all right? That school, Satella School, that was built, it was taken 70 years ago for that purpose. Any new school, that's a totally different contract. You have to retake this land at fair compensation if you're going to put a new school there, plain and simple. And I guarantee you at 9.5 acres, that's a hell of a lot more than what Berry School renovation would be. I'll just leave it at that. So whatever decision you come up with, okay, it's going to be fair compensation. Thank you.
there anyone else for public participation? Seeing none, we'll close that and move on to the approval of minutes.
Motion to accept the October 23rd.
Yes, it was October 23rd.
2025 minutes.
I second the motion.
Is there any discussion? Seeing none, could you take roll, please, Mike?
Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine. Yes. Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman,
Abstain. I wasn't at the meeting.
Rita Flam,
Yes.
Joshua, Carissa Lisi,
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Katie Calba,
Abstain, I was working.
Stanley Kozakowski.
Yes.
And Dr. Ware.
Yes.
That motion passes.
Thank you. Any communications?
None.
No communications. Moving on to the approval of invoices. We have an invoice submitted from Kayla and Beanick in the amount of $39,123.44, dated November 10th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve that we pay that bill.
Second on that motion.
Who made the motion? Was that Doug? Was that you or is it Dr. Ware?
Yeah, that was me.
Thanks, Doug.
Cool.
Is there any discussion on the motion?
No.
Any questions with Bill? No? Okay, yes, roll please, Mike.
Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Dr. Ware,
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine. Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman,
Yes.
Rita Flam.
Yes.
Carissa Lisi.
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba,
Yes.
Stanley Kozakowski.
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay, our OPM is not here, so I'm just going to turn it over to Bert for designer and OPM update.
Thank you, Carissa. For the OPM's update, I just have his schedule and really nothing has changed on the schedule at this point since our last meeting. So as of tonight, November 13th, we're still looking at submitting the PSR, the preferred schematic report, on December 18th to the MSBA. In January, we've got two possible dates for our presentation to the MSBA's Facilities Assessment Subcommittee. And those look like they're the January 4th and January 23rd, maybe. I can't see it from here, but
Okay.
but basically they meet twice a month and they don't know exactly which one of those meetings they'll get us into, but we'll be prepared. The presentation will be complete when we submit the PSR. It'll go in with the PSR, and whatever day they tell us to come, we'll go present to them. So that just brings us to really the big item on the agenda, and that's just a review or an update of what the four options that we're looking at tonight are, and a conclusion with a vote for which one this committee decides they want to move forward for the preferred schematic solution. So the first one we looked at is a requirement of MSBA that we incorporate the existing building somehow as an addition and renovation or a major renovation. So this is an addition and renovation to the existing school where we save the existing footprint of the gym and the cafeteria, and then we add on to the building to the north. Because of the amount of classrooms that the new school will have, there's plenty of room to build that new portion of the school so that we can move all the kids from the existing Barry classrooms into that area of the school before the contractor moves and demolitions a portion of the building and then renovates the gym and cafeteria areas of the building. We've had feedback that we want to make sure there's plenty of room on the site to queue cars. So we've got a drop-off lane that goes around the building. We can queue 100 cars on that without anybody spilling out onto the adjacent side streets. Traffic flow in the design proposes that people enter off of Mercedes Street, and all traffic kind of flows one way through the site and exits at LaGuardia. This project's got a total building area of 95,689 gross square feet. to serve a program area of 63,859 net square feet. And that's a grossing factor of 1.5. So those are the numbers that we kind of look at, is how big is the building overall, and the grossing factor is how efficient is it. So the lower the grossing factor, the more efficient your building is, basically. The school properties and this option is going to require us to take 5.88 acres of the Garrity Grove Park. And I just want to qualify that by saying that that's where we are right now. As the design develops and gets more detailed, that number might go up a little, it might come down a little bit, but you're looking at approximately 6 acres of land that we'll have to find other land in Chicopee to swap for. You're retaining 9.46 acres of the park, and we're looking at potentially swapping on this site 1.42 acres for the parkland, which is really occurring up towards the very north of the field between the turnpike and the park, and the property at 33 Mercedes Street is also would go to the park to replicate some of the existing amenities that you've got there now. Same thing as I mentioned about the size of the site that we need for the new school. All the images that you see here are all subject to some change. The site plan is probably close to what it would be as far as where the building is going to be is pretty firm, but the way the parking lots are set up, the roadways, that they all might be adjusted a little bit. And then the renderings that we've got for the conceptual images, people should understand that we haven't really discussed that. That's something that we discuss further into the project. So these are just conceptual images. It's not something that there's been discussions about, or that Chicopee has asked for or even reviewed. We're just given an idea of what they really are conveying, what the size of the school will be, the massing of the school, but not really intended to show what the final materials and things will be.
And how many properties have to be taken for this spur?
In this scheme, just for site access to the building and parking and everything, we're looking at 4 residential properties at 50, 60, and 66 LaGuardia Street. You can kind of see where the parking lot and the exit from the bus lane
So there's no,
goes through.
it's at the back of the park, that's just land.
The 86 Sanders and the 36 Mercedes properties. So those 2 properties that are kind of at the edges of the park, they're flag lots that go behind the park. And we're only looking at taking the part that's right behind the park. And that's really a contingency in case the land that we suggest for a land swap, if the EEA's office is looking for more. Because it's not always a one-to-one. Oftentimes the EEA, they will evaluate the value of the land that you're swapping. And if they think that it's not the same value or greater value than the land that we're replacing, they'll ask for more. So those are really contingencies. That's not a definite. But 33 Mercedes is the other residential property that we need in order to gain access into the site for the traffic flow.
So 4 homes.
So 4 homes, correct. And that's the same for both of these options. And the reason for that is that both options have the new school building all the way to the east side of the site. And that's because of the wetlands that you can kind of see them shaded in the darker green and then the light green around them on the left side of the park. And that's the buffer that we need to stay out of with the development of the school. So the only place that we had a consistent plot of land that was big enough to accommodate construction of the school was forced to the east side of the site. So this is design alternative A4. This represents new construction. You can see on the bottom left of the park plan, yellow dashed line, that's the footprint of the existing Barry School. So you can see that the new building would be able to be constructed while kids remain in their classrooms in this option. The total building area of this is 97,107 gross square feet. The program area is 65,348 net square feet. That's a number that's going to be consistent from this option and all the other options I discussed, and it's a little bit higher than the previous one. That's because this represents all of the program spaces meeting meeting the requirements of the ed program, basically. Where in the previous scheme, because it was an addition renovation, some of the spaces within the existing school are smaller than the ed program was really looking for, just because of the constraints of the existing building. But basically, you're looking at a net program need of 65,348 net square feet in the school. The resulting grossing factor is a little bit better on this. It's 1.49. We're looking at 6.11 acres of land needed for this. Retained parkland is 9.41, and the land swap again is consistent at the 1.25, which is the properties at the very top of the park plan. Again, all the traffic flows in from Mercedes, travels one way through the site and exits onto LaGuardia. And we've got the parent drop-off loop going around the school to accommodate a larger quantity of cars. And we've got the separated bus lane in the front, and then we've got some parking in front of the school and beside the school.
Now, for 2 years while you're trying to build that, from my point of view, traffic's gonna be a disaster. Yeah, that traffic's gonna be a disaster while you're trying to build that. For the 2 years you're trying to build it, where do you get cars in and out? I mean,
Yeah, I think that we all know the traffic condition at Barry now is not ideal, and that would continue. All the construction traffic, just on my limited knowledge, would probably come down Mercedes because that's the shortest street from a main road, and you've got direct access. So we'd have to create, temporary construction entrance over there.
yeah, it's the pickup and drop off type of traffic that would be.
Right, and that's all going to happen
Yeah.
kind of south of the Barry School the way it does now, with people stacking on Holly and then buses coming in from LaGuardia.
Yeah, I don't see much traffic currently on Peter Street or Mercedes. There are a few parents that park over there, of like fifth graders who will scooch out and like go that way. But for the most part, traffic is like where the green grass and all the trees are in the front there.
Right. So the next one is where we're moving to Zatella. This is a new school at Zatella property, just for the Barry population. So 340 pre-K or 340 kindergarten to fifth grade students, plus another 60 in a pre-K wing. This is a 2-story new construction option. The target, I didn't mention the target move-in dates at the Barry. The target move-in dates for the 2 Barry sites are the same. It's fall of 2030. And that's assuming that we move through Article 97 without any kind of hiccups or delays. We estimate a year to a year and a half in the fall 2030 represents a 1-year delay to the project to get through Article 97. If it's a year and a half, then you're looking at either a mid-year move in January or delaying it until fall of 2031. So if we move over to the Zatella site, we anticipate a move-in of fall of 2029. Total building area on this option is 96,461 gross square feet. Program area, again, is consistent at 65,348 net square feet and a grossing factor of 1.48. In this option, as people have mentioned, we're proposing taking all of the school traffic for both buildings off of Masick Drive and creating a new entrance through the property that's at 562 Granby Road. We did have a traffic study. You guys all were updated on the traffic study, so you know that there's 2 solutions. One is a roundabout, one is a signal. So those are published in the traffic study, and this committee's seen an update from our traffic engineer on that. But again, this option has a driveway for parents to queue. All of the parental traffic for the new Barry School would circle the entire building and then drop off on the bottom of the plan, about the middle of the building. The bus traffic for Barry would pass in front of the Barry School, kind of between the two, between Zatella, but closer to the school with a parking lot in between the 2 buildings. All of the parent traffic for Zatella would turn left just past the school and drop off there. And then the buses for Zatella will pull in front of the school, and everybody exits out the same drive where the roundabout or the traffic signal will be. This allows for all of the cars for both buildings to be able to queue without backing up onto Granby Road. Design alternative D3 has already been voted down by this commission due to the cost, but we have to include it with our MSBA study. So it's in the group tonight that I'm just recapping for you. This option was to demolish the existing Zatella school and build a new school that would accommodate both the Zatella preschool program in full and the Berry Elementary School enrollment of 340 K-5 students. This move-in date, fall of 2029, still 125,643 gross square feet, a program area of 85,733 net square feet, and a grossing factor of 1.47. The issue with this one, not only it's a much larger school in square footage that you'd pay for, but the entire Zatella program would not be reimbursable under the MSBA's grant. So that just shifts, you know, the amount of money that the Chicopee taxpayers would have to contribute heavier to the Chicopee side. So those are the four options that have been carried forward from the PDP that we're looking at and presenting with our preferred schematic report in December. And in that report, we have to narrow it down to one school. The site was a big piece of that decision for people. We realized that. That's why we had the traffic study move forward from where it typically occurs up into this phase of the study so that you can understand the traffic conditions at Granby Road. We've already gone through all of that in a presentation from our traffic engineer. And I had this slide last time too, but I just put it up here to kind of summarize the difference between the two options. A new Berry School at Garrity Grove, the beneficial land acquisition there will displace 4 families. At Zatella, beneficial land acquisition is going to take a vacated property right now. So while it's taking property from somebody, it's not displacing a family. The added cost, city cost, that's to replicate the Garrity Grove park amenities and create a new park someplace else. We're looking at about $4.1 million. Added city cost would be to construct a roundabout and the sidewalks that were associated with that. And that's about $3.5 million at Zatella. Land acquisition for 4 homes is about $1.4 million. Land acquisition is about $250,000, I would say, for the Zatella. Busing, no change at Berry. Obviously, your busing would remain the same, so there's no cost implications about that. Adding busing for the Garrity, the Zatella site is about $318,780,000 annually to make sure that kids can get safely to the school. Additional property and hazmat surveying is required for Berry because we're going to have to look at those properties that we're going to have to take. All of those have to be served. Like that land was not surveyed yet, and there hasn't been like an environmental survey to make sure that the heating oil didn't leak or anything like that on the site. So we'd have to do that. There's no additional surveying at the Zatella site because there weren't homes where people were living. We were able to get access to all of the land that we were considering for that option. Traffic. Traffic would be greatly improved in the Berry neighborhood if we were to move forward with either one of those two options. We are able to get all the cars off of the residential streets. You wouldn't have blocked driveways. Traffic also improves at the Berry, as you could see with the traffic study, as was explained with that the calming measures that they're looking at will be effective based on our traffic engineer's expertise. Neighborhood supports 2 environmental justice populations at Garrity Grove, income and minority. The neighborhood at Zatella supports 1 environmental justice population, which is income. Demolition costs are supported in Garrity Grove, and what that means is when we take down the existing Berry School building, the MSBA grant will consider that a reimbursable expense, and they'll participate in those costs. If we build a new school at Zatella, the cost to demolish Berry will be 100% on the city because it's on a different site and the grant only will cover work on one property.
That was something that
Yeah.
the other group was
Adam,
tracking.
that
Adam,
was
sorry, Adam was tracking
disability.
this, and we heard back that yes.
It was confirmed, yes.
Okay.
He did hear back from them. The added estimated, the Barry property, and really it's because of the Article 97 and the work that has to be done there. Not only the property that has to be taken, the park that has to be created on another location, but also the time it adds to the project with construction cost escalation. The Colliers did all these calculations, but the estimate is about $7 million in additional cost to Chicopee taxpayers over what the Zatella site would be. And so, are there questions about any of the options?
Love that you look right at me, Bert. Kate's gonna have some questions. I do have some questions. So the 4.1 million for replicating Garrity Grove and the construction escalation costs, right? Are any of those covered by the MSBA, or is that going to be city?
No, those are city costs. So the land acquisition is 100% on the city, not covered by MSBA. The city cost to anything to do with the park replication is 100% on the city, and the roundabout or traffic signal will be 100% on the city. I will say that I'm not an expert in like park grants, but or traffic grants, but there are grants available that MSBA allows cities and municipalities. They didn't used to allow you to kind of go after your own grants. They would subtract whatever you got from another funding source from what they were going to give you, but now they allow you to do that without subtracting what their participation would be on the eligible costs. So.
And can you talk briefly about what the environmental justice population line means?
So the environmental population line was really driven by a letter that I indirectly received. It was sent to City Council that had a lot of questions. And in that letter, environmental justice neighborhoods were mentioned because of the open space that would be taken at the Zatella site, the Zatella field, to build a school. And so I just put it on there because it was something that hadn't been brought up at a previous public forum or before this commission. So I just wanted to make sure that it was addressed someplace. And so an environmental justice neighborhood is, you can go onto the state's GIS, and there's other websites that you can go that identify the environmental justice neighborhoods. And it's really just where there's like an underserved community, whether it's income, language barriers, minorities. There's several categories, but those are the categories that are affected by the two locations we're looking at.
Okay.
Could you tell Bert, okay, the Satella site, the 104,220,226 cost. Okay, those are rough numbers there, right? Because we're looking into the future. By the time they put a shovel in the ground, they start construction. Did that also, that number I just gave you, did that include like a roundabout, sidewalk improvements, potential, light at Edgemont?
I would have to go back, to be honest with you, and look. The 104, a couple of things to say. The $104 million number that you're quoting, and they were all in the same range. Between $100 and $104 million, except for the consolidation that was much higher. Those are projected out to the midpoint of construction. To address that part of your question, we are looking forward, but our cost estimator does this routinely, and he holds a lot of contingencies. That's why I said I have to go back and check our notes to see if we had asked him. They're from the PDP, they're from the previous submission. So I'd have to go back honestly and look in the notes to make sure that we asked him to carry that as a contingency item. So I don't know, but we're expecting cost estimates for this report in about 2 weeks. So he's had the drawings for about 2 weeks right now.
Okay.
And also, as the design goes on, there's always opportunities for us to control some of the cost through value engineering. If we got to try to shave $1 million off a project, there's ways to do it, working with the designers, because we do it all the time. So,
Okay.
once you have your budget, they can design the building with all the bells and whistles, and sometimes you gotta pull a couple bells and a couple whistles out to control the cost. So the building committee has some control of that.
Okay, thank you.
So even with all of those costs that we were just talking about, we're looking at the difference between these two sites for a full school, not the ad reno. The difference would be $7 million that the city would have to take on. That wouldn't necessarily be covered by the MSBA.
Right.
Okay.
And to Stan's last question, I think that whether it was included in the PDP estimates or it wasn't included in the PDP estimates, that range is going to be consistent. So if it wasn't included in the PDP estimates, the $4.1 million on the Garrity Grove side would go up, and the 3.5 on the Zatella side would go up. So the range would stay the same. The end number would just grow if they were not included in those. Right.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I was just, on the planning board, we had a meeting a little while ago, and the rotaries they're putting in up at Montgomery, they're putting in a few rotaries up there. The city is paying for the design, but I believe Mass DOT is gonna cover the cost of construction. So if we were to go with a roundabout here, that might be something that could be pursued, where maybe save some of the costs. And I'll just say, if that happens, when we did the school in East Hampton, that rotary solved a huge problem on that road. It was very similar to what we have on Granby Road, where there was just a constant downhill and cars would just fly, and they had a blind corner there. You know, it was a nightmare trying to get out of there. Like you said, you take your life into your own hands. Once we put that rotary in, solved everything, because you can't come around that rotary faster than 20, 25 miles an hour.
Would you say a rotary perhaps has more of an impact than a light?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because people speed up to go through a light, where the rotary, you have no choice but to slow down. And just based on the experience we had in East Hampton, and the flow of traffic out of the school was so much better.
Okay. Is that on a main street also?
Oh, yeah.
East Hampton?
Oh, yeah, it was
Okay.
very similar to what you had here. Everybody was racing to get to 91 to go to work. And, you know, I came down that road myself a few times, and you're going 45. You don't realize it because it was just a downhill gradual, and it's very similar to Granby Road. And, you know, as far as safety goes for the kids and people getting in and out of that school, it was a huge game changer.
Okay, someone had mentioned recently line of sight, so that's the way the road approaches. And do you remember, Bert? I know it's an extensive traffic study. It's, you know,
So I think their line of sight discussions when he was presenting the traffic study had to do with mostly the signalization. There's requirements for line of sight, I think. And they were talking about how much distance was required for a light to qualify and how much was actually would be available there. So I think that's what his line of sight was. But both the traffic light and the roundabout would help, because we know there's a bend in the road there too. And it would help really kind of slow traffic down to navigate that better.
And one more thing to clarify, Zatella is not parkland. I know one of the people spoke that thought it was, but it is not parkland. There's no Article 97 that has to go on there, correct?
That's correct. We did extensive research during the PDP phase. And the title research showed that it's not. And then we actually pursued it through the planning board and the Parks Commission here in town too, to make sure that there had never been any grants, any park dedications or anything like that, and followed up with the state GIS mapping group. And so the question was that on the state's GIS, it was listed it was shown as Article 97. And through the due diligence of the project, the planning board rectified that on Mass Mapper, which is the state GIS. So the Article 97 geometries are no longer shown on that.
Dr. Ware, Doug, Katie, do you guys have any questions, comments, concerns for Bert?
No, I don't have any. Thank you.
Bert, I think it's important that you just clarified that because that was a question I had. for the record tonight as to what the intentional use of that land was for originally. And it seems to me that it was deeded for the use of schooling. Is that correct?
Yes, it was deeded for the construction of a new school.
Thank you for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
Katie, did you have anything?
The only other thing that I didn't feel was quite clarified was both Berry designs require the taking of the same 4 homes.
Yes, they do.
I just wanted to confirm that.
Mm-hmm.
Mayor, do you have anything that you would like to add?
Thank you. Mike Sarnelli had mentioned that there are roundabout projects that are happening on Montgomery Street, and I will say as mayor and also very concerned about pedestrian safety and actually the goal of Chicopee right now with the Safe Streets for All grant that we've received is to someday reach vision 0, which is no more fatalities. And that is the ultimate goal of the city of Chicopee in looking at different calming projects, because street diets are very, I'll say, effective. Speed table speed bumps, in my opinion, are probably not as effective. But I will say that signal versus roundabout, signals are allowing traffic to flow in its natural state until you reach a point where either camera or pad stops that traffic from flowing. A roundabout is a calming project that's permanent either during or after school hours, meaning 24/7. So I would think it'd be in our best interest to really focus on the roundabout versus signals, because that is a calming project. It creates natural gaps that allow for traffic to flow a lot smoother than the current situation that is there now. For example, Edgewood, I was talking to some residents who live in that neighborhood. I believe there's quite a large number of homes that use Edgewood as their primary access to their neighborhood. This would provide those natural gaps that allow for people to exit their property, exit onto Granby Road a lot safer than the current conditions that are there now. And I think we would lean more towards that. And I will share that the goal of the city of Chicopee is to aggressively go out and try to find grants. Grants take the burden off of taxpayers. So the goal would to be aggressively researching and looking for grant opportunities, whether it be through mass development, Safe Streets for All, or whatever the other entities are that are out there and available to us. We'd be aggressively researching them. And just going back to that Montgomery, Granby, McKen Street triple roundabout, we did pay for the design, but it's a compliance project through DOT funded by the state. So Mass DOT is funding that I think it's about a $12 million project, and we're excited about it starting actually next year. So the eminent domain takings are on the agenda for the city council to move that project along, and that would be something similar here. I know that you're looking for some recommendations. I weren't sure that the design team was going to talk about that first. So, Kayla Lambinik and Bert Gardner and also Collier's, our OPM, have had many, many conversations with not just myself, but with all of you, and about what we think is in our best interest as a community. And I'd like to hear their recommendations before you get recommendations from either me or from the superintendent or anyone else. So thank you.
So we don't really have a position as the designer. What we like to do is just kind of present the facts. And I think that it was kind of summarized here. We didn't go into details, but in our past meetings, there has been a lot more detail shared. And I think that the MSBA charges us with helping the district to design a school that will best serve the educational interests in the most fiscally responsible way. And so I think that meeting the ed program can be done at either site. The ad reno doesn't meet it 100%, but it's close. So then you're left with the 3 new build options, which will all support your ed program. But then it comes down to cost. And I think that undeniably the cost at Zatella to develop Zatella are much lower for the city of Chicopee than it will be to develop a project at Berry. So
I'm kind of a math person. I want to comment on that real quick. Go
I
ahead.
was gonna
Make a motion.
So my thought process was math-wise to me, and I'm going to present this to committee. Maybe we can bring this to a vote so we can kind of baby step our way through this. It doesn't make any sense to me to keep the ad reno on the table. For a few $1,000,000 more, we can get a brand new school that meets all the requirements. So moving forward, for purposes of discussion, I'd like to entertain a motion to remove that option from our discussion.
I can make that motion to remove the option for the reno.
How does everybody feel about that?
Second.
Okay, is there any discussion?
I think you summed it up pretty well.
Okay. So Gerard,
Yes.
Dr. Ware,
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine,
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman,
Yes.
Marie LaFlamme,
Yes.
Carissa Lucy,
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba,
Yes.
Stanley Kusikowski.
Yes.
And the motion passes.
Okay. So that being said, we're left with our two options. Option one, new building at the current Garrity Grove, which is A4. Option two, new building at Zatella, which is B3. I'm going to ask Dr. Ware and put him on the spot for his comments.
All right, thank you. So just like the mayor expressed, I think without going into feelings and keeping it to facts, one of the things that I express multiple meetings is that in our elementary schools, we recognize that we definitely have some work to do into getting our elementary schools to be representative of the programmatic needs that our students have. And, one of the things that I was asked coming on as superintendent is what would be the vision. And the vision would be to eventually work with the town, city, and communities to understand why this would be important. So when I look at the two sites, one of the things that I paid attention to as well was the level of disruption for our kiddos. And so although I know that there's comments on both sides of the fence, whether it's at Garrity Grove or whether it's at Satella. The school department stance is that we want a school sooner rather than later. That's one of the things that we weighed because of the growing need of our students who are attending Berry School. With that said, I would like to thank Bert and his team, as well as Adam and Colliers, for really laying out all the facts and exploring all the avenues. With that said, I would say that the Satella option, building at Satella, would be where the school department stands at this time.
Thank you, Dr. Ware. Mayor?
I think it's really important that this commission has thoroughly vetted all options and has narrowed it down to two. I think that there's some real obstacles with the Garrity Grove site, and discussions with our OPM and our design team and many of you. It looks like it's probably in our best interest when it comes to either A, financial feasibility to build a new school, B, dealing with Article 97 and parkland restrictions at the Garrity site. The unforeseen conditions of wetland soils have really limited the location of a new facility on that location, which has pushed us all the way east and would force us to take 4 homes versus taking a vacant parcel. So as you look at all of the, from a comprehensive standpoint and looking at mitigation and traffic flow and other things from this traffic study, I believe that it would be in our best interest to look at the Satella site as our primary option.
Thank you.
Ideally, we would like to incorporate the early childhood of Satella into a project like this, but getting zero reimbursement. I think one of the things I just want to share with all of the general public and the viewing audience is simply that that extra $40 million could potentially be another elementary school replacement in the future. So to spend that money with a zero reimbursement today just doesn't make financial sense. As much as I would like to incorporate that into the project, it really doesn't make financial sense. So knowing that we can potentially get up to 80% reimbursement for this project, and I know that a lot of the neighbors are concerned about the impact to their neighborhood. And I do think that with the design professionals that we've hired, they actually, Kalo and Beanick, their office is right here in Chicopee. Their focus is on doing what's in the best interest of the people who live here. And I'm excited about the project, and I really do believe that it would be in our best interest to proceed with the Satella site. We can open it quicker. It's cost less, and we could probably get a better rate of return from the MSBA on our reimbursement. So all of those factors added together with a traffic calming on Granby Road, I think that ideally it'll be more than likely a roundabout versus signal. I think that would be a home run for the neighborhood as well. So that's the stance of me as mayor. And unfortunately, that's not what's going to make everyone happy, but this is about doing what's for the greater good of our community. And I do think that having a brand new state-of-the-art elementary school in your neighborhood is a very positive thing for a neighborhood. And I do believe that that's something that everyone should be hopefully excited about. And for those who right now reside on Masick Drive is the primary access to Satella Early Childhood, that would alleviate all of that daily traffic flow that goes to the street and put it on its own private driveway. And I do believe it would help mitigate traffic on Granby Road, like I had mentioned, with the especially those who live on Edgewood. So that's the recommendation of the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Before moving on, I do want to take an opportunity to thank Bert and Adam and everybody at Kalo and Beanick and Colliers for doing their due diligence and presenting all of this information for us. And I know it wasn't easy. This has not been an easy project from the get-go. We do have a lot of Article 97 issues to face at Garrity. Having been through the Article 97 process with my experience in Westfield, I'm very leery. You look up the history of Westfield and they moved forward on a project. It was Article 97 and they ended up losing their spot with the MSBA and funding with the MSBA, and had to start the whole project all over from scratch. In my years of construction, I've been involved with multiple schools, reconstruction of schools, renovations of schools, new schools. I was involved with the one in East Hampton briefly, the one in Westfield. I was with the city of Chicopee when we built Chicopee High, Chicopee Comp, and also redid DuPont. And I don't see any negative side effects from, the neighborhoods in that aspect, in that regard. So that's kind of my take on how I think a school in a particular neighborhood is beneficial. I think it does boost revenues. It makes the neighborhood more attractive, I think, especially with a brand new building. So with that, I guess I'll open up the floor to anybody else who has any comments, questions, concerns, anything they want to discuss before we move this forward.
Could I also make a statement? Yeah. Again, I think I'm the elder statesman with this commission. And again, we've put 2.5 years into this process. We've advertised every single meeting that was ever held. We've gone to various elementary schools under construction, recently constructed. And again, Keola and Vinik, and Colliers have been very, very helpful in the process. Very often, officials in the city are accused of just throwing money away. I've been a taxpayer in the city of Chicopee for 45 years now, and I take the taxes that I pay very seriously. So I'd like to be kind of a watchdog over the spending on this project. I've also, spent many years in the classroom and as an administrator. I have been involved in a project where they renovated a school. We were displaced. They were bused. It's a terrible situation. Also involved with addition construction to Comp High School many years ago. And even though they say it's really not disruptive, it is extremely disruptive. The students, okay, struggle as it is. And I think, looking at all of the factors taken into consideration, again, I would support the Satella site because I think it's the least disruptive, for the students that will be occupying this building. And our mission here is to provide the best quality education, not just for the next 5 years, in a structure that's going to really accommodate and boost and wants students to come to school, be happy and safe. And I believe that the Satella site, a new building there, would be in the best interest of the city.
Thank you, Stan.
Yeah, I'd just like to add though, if we were to build this school at Berry with the close proximity to the existing school and the amount of space that they wouldn't have anymore, there'd be no hard space for the kids to go out and play. They'd have no, you know what I mean? They have to go out and play in the wetlands, it would be very, very disruptive for, 2 years of that. And that school would have to be right up against the existing building, and from, somebody who's done that and has to deal with that, it's just not.
Yeah, you
good for the
you
kid.
bring to mind, like when construction is going, even though it's not physically inside the building. I remember teaching in closets because they had to move us around because of the debris and so on and so forth. So again, the students, primary focus of, I think, of myself.
I'd like to say something, but I don't know if we should wait until there's a motion.
No.
Or just go? Okay. So I've been toying with this a lot because having spent our time over in Garrity area, like I love the neighborhood, I love the people. I feel like our community is really great there, and so I was hopeful that we'd be able to put a school in that community. But after looking at cost, I want to mention this part. Like we say that the project's going to be $104 million, and then we're going to add $7 million to be at Berry. But really, if the city, like if we do all the math, this is kind of what I was talking about. If the state's going to reimburse 80% of, let's say, 110 million, right? And that's like without adding the 7%, the 7 million. So that we're going to be responsible for like 22 million, let's say, maybe.
No.
So it's almost impossible. Just a point of information.
Yep.
It hasn't happened in other communities in I'll say the last, and I don't have a time frame, but recent years that they've come anywhere close to the 80.
So
Realistically, conservatively, we're more looking at 60, 65
Okay.
and hoping and praying that we could get to a 70% reimbursement.
Yep.
So ideally, the conservative number would probably be 60% reimbursement.
So like if it was 100, let's say we're looking at $100 million project, the city would be responsible for 40, right?
Yeah.
But so then if you're saying add on to that 40 million, the 7 million that's going to cost us at Berry, right? That's like 20%. We're going to add 20% to stay at Berry is basically what that would be, right? Because I feel like when we talk about 100 million and you're like, oh, well, let's add 7 million. 7 million doesn't sound like a lot when you're already paying 100 million, right? And not that it's not a lot, it is a lot. But I feel like if we're looking at, well, the city is only going to be responsible for 60 million. And then we're going to add another 7 million onto that. I feel like that gap is wider. So for me, cost wise, I feel like Satella is the way to go. The timeline lines up. I feel like we're adding safety. We're not taking homes. And there's a positive impact on the neighborhood. The only thing that I really dislike is that the Berry's going to stand.
We were carrying the cost to demolish Berry, right? Those
Yeah, so especially the updated numbers
Yes.
will definitely be including the cost to demolish Berry Elementary School, because we know that that's That's the ultimate goal. You don't want a vacant building that size standing in. You don't want any vacant building standing in your city. Just leads to blight and other things. So we know the city wants to take that down. So that's our goal, is to include the cost to demolish Barry, even though it's not going to be reimbursed in the total project budget.
So based on that, I'm for Zatella.
Doug, did you have anything that you would like to add?
I just have one question, and it's great the mayor's here tonight. I just wanted to make sure that we have a plan in place to acquire the land that we need for Zatella site. Do we have a confirmation on that, just to make sure that we, that we're not,
Zatella site.
yeah, that we have the land on Edgewood there that we need to build that new school at Zatella. Do we have confirmation that we have the land, or that we have a plan in place to acquire the land on the city side?
So we've been enacting the eminent domain process of taking that property on Granby Road, that vacant parcel. So that would happen after a decision is made. So there would be a plan in place to move forward to take that property by eminent domain. And any other strip takings, construction easements that would be necessary to implement a roundabout that could handle the traffic flow on Granby Road, with the addition of a new elementary school, and also taking into consideration pedestrian sidewalks as well.
Thank you for the clarification.
Katie, did you have anything?
No, nothing else.
Okay. Tanya? Scott? Mike?
No, I think I,
Okay. Marie?
All said, I heard a lot tonight.
It's a lot to digest. How do we want to do this? Do we want to vote on each individual site? Or
Would I make a motion to approve the?
okay, why don't we do a motion to approve site alternative
B3?
A4? We want to start with Garrity?
A4, okay.
A4, we'll start with Garrity. We'll entertain a motion to approve design alternative A4 as the preferred design solution.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mike. Anyone a second? You, Scott. Is there any discussion on the motion?
So I do prefer A4 as, being part of this project from the beginning. And I feel bad for the neighborhood of Garrity Grove, because Garrity Grove, basically, they went through all the struggles of having a school in their backyard, and they kind of accepted that they know they'll have a new school in their backyard. And then when we went and had the wetlands study done, we lost a lot of the park amenities there. We lost the softball field, the baseball field, area where we have freshman football and lacrosse. All that field is gone. So that neighborhood lost in us looking into putting a school there, lost. So I think we owe it to that neighborhood to build the school there. And I'm talking as a resident now. I know I'm put on here as the director of maintenance, but as a city resident that I have family living here, I feel I need to speak that I do feel Garrity Grove neighborhood is getting the short end of the stick here by us not going through what we knew from the beginning. Article 97 was involved. We knew from day one that we had to do this. We made several recommendations that would get ahead of this somehow, because we knew it was going to be a deciding factor. We looked for companies, architectural and our OPM, that had experience with Article 97. So I'm saying this again, we knew this was what we were up against. And we did find a better alternative, I guess, because it's going to be easier as in we don't have to deal with the Article 97. I just feel A4 was the perfect fit. And to say that Zatella is not going to be disrupted during this construction, that road that you're putting in is a part of the parking lot that most of the staff park in, never mind the drop off. The road that goes in, there's a parking lot that was put in back in the late 90s that is fully used. So that road is going to, so you're going to displace probably 30 or 40 cars, and there's nowhere else on site those cars can go. So there is some type of, you're going to move into Garrity Field to put parking or something because there's nothing else there. Or you're going to, after you take that land, you're going to put in some kind of parking along the new road that's in. It is going to be disrupted to the teleschool and the drop off there. And I also have to say, I have family. I mean, I'm voting for A4, and I'm voting for A4. And I may be the only vote, but I feel because of Zatella, I do have family that live on Masick, and it would be better for their neighborhood if that was a dead end where they live. I have family and friends that live on Masick. It would be better for them if it went at Zatella, but I feel I'll have to abstain when you do the vote for Zatella because I have family and friends on Masick Drive. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Scott. Does anybody else have any discussion? Seeing none, Mike, can you take roll?
This is to approve
This is to approve A4.
Doug Gerard,
No.
Dr. Ware,
No.
Scott Chapdelaine,
Yes.
Kate Lambert,
No.
Tanya Roman, Marie LaFlamme,
No.
Carissa Lisi,
No.
Michael Sarnelli,
No.
Katie Collins Calba,
No.
and Stanley Kozakowski.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay, that being said, I will entertain a motion for the approval of design alternative B3 to construct a Berry School at Zatella.
I'll make that motion.
I can second it.
Is there any discussion? Whenever you're ready for roll call, please, Mike.
Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Dr. Ware,
Yes.
Scott Chapdelaine,
Abstain.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman,
Yes.
Marie LaFlamme,
Yes.
Carissa Lisi,
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba,
Abstained.
and Stanley Kozakowski.
Yes.
8 yes, and the motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the district update. Dr. Ware, do you have anything?
No, I do not.
Thank you.
So that I do want to mention that the district website is up and running with all of our information on there. So if you go to the Chicopee public school website and then under Berry and then under that is the project, I believe. So I just want to mention that, right, Dr. Ware, if you can confirm that, Tanner. Yeah. Okay. So yeah,
Yes, the website's been up and running throughout the most duration of the project, but yes, it's up and running.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
9-8 was the vote, so that's not applicable.
Yep. So we're on to adjournment.
Next meeting date,
Next meeting date is, we don't need another meeting in November. So it would just be our normal meeting in December,
What's the date of
City
that?
Council meeting.
which is December 11th.
does that give you enough?
There's also a city council meeting on Monday.
Yes.
The city council on, yes, on the 17th.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I second the motion.
Yes, next meeting is December 11th.
On the motion to adjourn, Doug Gerard,
Yes.
Dr. Ware,
Yes.
Chapdelaine.
Yeah.
Kate Lambert,
Yes.
Tanya Roman.
Yep.
Marie LaFlamme,
Yes.
Carissa Lisi,
Yes.
Michael Sarnelli.
Yes.
Katie Collins Calba,
Yes.
Kelly. Cups.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Thank you.